This is not the first time Sicily was faced with the wrath of nature, but experts are calling this storm one of the most destructive weather events in decades. The last such disaster occurred in 2029, where deadly floods and landslides killed 37 people in Messina, but this time the combination of heavy rainfall, wind and widespread infrastructure damage made the consequences even more serious. According to preliminary government report, more than 1,200 homes were damaged, 14 roads remain closed and 7 bridges have been structure damage. Insurance companies are already inundated with the claims of many families without insurance to continue on compensation from the state. This storm was particularly dangerous because it suddens. Meteorologists issue a yellow alert just hours before the first downpour. By that time, it was too late many communities to prepare. Critics are now to call into fast weather warning system to better preparedness of natural disaster, especially in the southern region, which is often overlooked. Satellite images show in a grim picture. The Sicilian city of Palermo is trying to recover after the violent storm that caused chaos throughout the region, bringing record rainfall, destructive winds and widespread flooding. In a matter of hours, almost a month of worst of rainfall caused sweat of the overflow and the streets of flood. Footage from the city shows cars floating like toys, buses stuck in the middle on the roads, and firing residents seek refuge in the rooftop. The water rose so quickly that we barely had time to escape, said Giovanni Russo, whose family was rescued to firefighters from their flooded apartment. At least 5 people were killed and dozens were injured. More than 200 residents were evacuated from their homes, and thousands were left without power due to damage in power lines caused by fallen trees and lightning strikes. The historic center of Palermo, known for the architecture and the live market, was ill emptied, businesses closed to tourists at the day hotels. Hospitals are overwhelmed, treating cases to hypothermia, injuries and shock. Emergency shelters have been set up in school and community halls to accommodate families who have lost their homes. The major called in a worst storm in history, and the request urged assistance to the native level. In addition to Palermo rural area, the Sicily were also affected. Vineyard, olive farms and a citrus orange which are vital to the island economy were destroyed, raising concerns about the significant loss and agriculture. Transport link was paralyzed. Palermo airport suspended flights to several hours, and a ferry rail service was suspended due to flooding and landslides. Meteorologists said the storm was intensified by the collisions of warm Mediterranean waters with a cold front, increasingly common phenomenon linking to climate change. Italian Civil Protection Agency warning that Sicily is now one of the regions in Europe most vulnerable to extreme weather conditions. Sicily was hit a severe storm that swept across the island overnight, causing torrential rain, storms, winds, and widespread flooding. Palermo, Catania, and several smaller towns were worst affected, with the streets turned into raging rivers, and entire neighborhoods were left without power. Residents reported panic as the water flooded historic city center. It was terrible. In a matter of minutes, the water rose above the car's doors. We had to abandon the vehicles, said Salvatore Russo, the driver from Palermo. Emergency service service carried out dozens of rescue operations, including rescuers, families trapped in their homes and motorists stuck in the underpasses. Authority temporarily closed schools and government offices in several municipalities as prediction. The Sicily Civil Protection Agency declared a highest level of water alert. At least one hospital of Catania reported flooding in the lower floors, forcing staff and relocate parent. The storm also dealt a serious blow to agriculture, damaging olive groves, citrus, orange and vineyards, while left blockborne the island economy. Farmers estimated to damage of millions of euros, further complicating the situation in a region that already struggled with the drought to binging of a year. Flights to and from Palermo to Catania airports were delayed and cancelled, and a ferry service between Sicily and mainland Italy was suspended to several hours due to rush seas. Meteorologists are linking this storm to a powerful Mediterranean cyclone, sometimes called the Medican, from the form to the warm seawater full intense weather system. Experts warn that the climate change is making such events more frequent and destructive. The president of the Sicily region promised rapid assistance to the affected communities, stretching the urgent need to strategic flood protection. This storm has once again demonstrated the vulnerability of our island in us. We must do decisively to protect life and livelihood, he said. The Italian capital was through the internal turmoil after sudden and violent hailstorm hit the Rome, covering the streets with the ice, damaged vehicles and living residents stranded. The storm, which arrived without warning, was declared a meteorologist is one of the most intense hail the city has in the decades. Within minutes, the sky darkened over the central Rome before unleashing the barrage of hailstorms, some the size of Goals Ball. The streets around the Colosseum, Pisa, Venezia and Trastevere was transformed into rivers of ice. Video shared on social media showed scooters and cars are skidding out of control while passengers rolled their shelters in subway station. It sounded like the gunshot of troops, said residents. Chiara Lombardi was a car white plate was shattered. In 15 minutes everything was destroyed. Emergency service responded. The hundreds of calls or rescue drivers trapped in the flooded overpasses and removing fallen branches. At least 25 people were injured, mainly is broken glass and debris.